Hello and welcome to Nurture Group's very own podcast. We're showcasing news, insights and knowledge from some of the industry's best. We hope you enjoy learning more about our growing business. If you have a topic you'd like to chat about, then reach out to me, Melanie Hiblin, and let's talk nurture. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed this next episode. Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in and listening to this chat as part of the My Stories series, where we get to know some of the awesome people that make up the Nurture Group family. Today I'm chatting to Jason Crompton, who is a grounds maintenance team leader in Blacko and who's had a fairly dramatic career change to join us here, or to be here. Let's learn a little bit more. Welcome, Jason. I hope you're hanging on in there with the winter season, and Let's kick off with a little bit about your background and what you got up to before you were in the Nurture Group.
I started my career cutting grass as a young lad. I used to cut grass at the church grounds just across the road from me. I used to work on Chorley Market. Big shout out for Chorley. And then used to run up to after I'd finished working on the market and cut the grass at the church, cut the hedges and help out there. And that really started my passion in horticulture. But then I took a big change. I decided I'd go to college, go to uni, and I became a teacher. And I was a teacher in primary school for over a decade. When I left, I was acting deputy head of our school. And it served me so well, that career, for so long. And it was just a real kind of change in mentality and changing shift in focus for me. And I kind of almost going back to my roots as such. If I'd grown up in this world where I was cutting grass and I loved that time, I'd gone and been a teacher. And I always thought that maybe I didn't want to be one of those people when I was older who said, when my grandchildren asked me or people asked me who came to visit me, they'd say, Jason, what did you do when you were younger? Or what did you do when you worked? And I didn't want to be that person who said, oh, I was a teacher. And that was it. Didn't want the story to end there. I wanted it to be more kind of like, this is what I did and this is what I did as well. And I tried this and I did that. And I did teaching for a long time and loved it. And we all know the problems with the education system. And I was ready for a change. And I didn't want to become one of those belligerent teachers who was we all know that grumpy teacher who was in our school or our high school. And I didn't want to become that grumpy. Yeah, of course. So I wanted a big change, go outdoors, go and try something, go back to my roots, and I'm loving it.
Do you think that your passion for the environment, and obviously that sounds like that came right from the childhood, and I'm completely resonating with that. My granny used to take me on country walks and constantly be pointing out nature and the changes of the seasons, and I really believe that's my, how I've come to love it as an adult. But would you say that your passion translated into your teaching and you were trying, inspiring the children to kind of adopt that same love that you've had?
Yeah, of course. We had some neighbours across the road, Jane and Richard, they were called, and they always used to take me down to their allotment. And I got into gardening more so through that, as well as doing the church thing. And I really do think that really, when I was in school, I loved being part of the Forest Schools projects that we did. And I think, like I said, it's going back to that root of who I was as a young person, and making big changes in my life. Yes, the obvious thing is I was on a really nice salary. I was on a higher salary than I am now. But I started to realise that money isn't the kind of my driver in life anymore. And stature or position wasn't really my driver in life. And I realised that maybe this is an opportunity to do something that really resonates with something a bit deeper inside me. And I found that this change has made me a lot more grounded, a lot more humble. I'm spending a lot more time with family, friends, and I've slowed down the pace of my life dramatically. And I think that's partly due to this new role.
That's really interesting. And so, when you were in the school, did you constantly notice the grounds and whether the lawns were mowed?
Yeah, they were done usually by the council, and I'll just leave it at that, I think.
Oh, okay. Well,
It was
say no more. Say no more.
yeah, of course.
So tell me about what transferable skills would you say you've brought along from teaching in primary schools over to horticulture?
Like I said, I was involved in our kind of forest schools, and part of our science curriculum, which I was leading on in one of my schools, was all about planting, all about growth and development, photosynthesis.
What about sort of
Go on,
in
sorry.
terms of your leadership? So in teaching, obviously, you've got to be the leader of the classroom, and if you're in deputy head position, you would have been
Yeah.
leading a team too. Do you think that the skills that you had there have obviously enabled you to lead your team in nurture group as well?
Yeah, definitely. It was something I spoke to the manager at interview with, the person who interviewed me, Matt. He said from the very beginning, he said, I don't think you'll be doing the grounds operative job for too long. And within 6 months, he'd invited me to be a team leader. So I've got my own van, my own equipment now. It's nice to have that sense of organisation of my jobs and be able to say, oh, I need an extra visit to this place, or I need to do this to this job. So I was really fortunate that I was placed with someone with a vast amount of experience beforehand. And he used to work in lawn care as well, so he's taught me a lot in terms of lawn care as well, and how to cultivate nature.
I mean, and that's the advantage of being, working for one of the, or if not the biggest in the industry, is that you're always going to attract the best people. And with that, you get those learning opportunities and obviously the career opportunities too, because we're always growing and expanding. There'll be plenty more space to climb and grow. So tell me about what the best parts of your jobs are versus the most challenging parts of your job.
I think I can answer that in kind of one answer. The best and the worst parts is working outdoors. And I love the working outdoors. I love it, especially we all love it when it's sunny, get a nice tan. And there's those days cutting grass constantly are absolutely lovely when it's sunny and amazing. However, the bad side of it can also be the weather. In the past, I was able to hide with my cup of coffee up against the radiator and stay warm.
I have 2 dogs and I feel exactly the same. When you're in the summer and you're walking your dogs, it's just like best day ever, lovely sunshine, birds singing, it's just glorious. But when it's out there like it has been recently, and we probably, to be fair, get better weather down here in the south, and even as it's just constantly muddy, grey. It just gets you down. But still, the fresh air is still good for you.
I do find that those bitter cold winter mornings where it just think it just takes you an hour or two just to warm up a little bit. Your fingertips are still numb 2 hours into work, and
as you get older, the old joints start getting a bit creaky as well. I think I've come from a fundraising background, and the CEO there used to say there's no such thing as bad weather, it's just bad clothing. It's like, but even so. So tell me, so outside of work, we've heard a little bit about your passions inside of work and what makes you tick. What do you like doing outside of work in your spare time?
Outside of work, as I said previously, family has become a major priority to me. I've got a gorgeous little girl called Lily, who is absolutely.
I've got a little girl. Well, she's not a little girl anymore. She's a big girl, but I've got a Lily. Go on.
My Lily says she's a big girl as well. She's only 3.
They all think.
She is massively my priority. My family, my partner, and my friends. We enjoy. Again, it's very much an outdoorsy kind of family. We enjoy going walking and just spending time together, really. I live in Burnley. Family are over in Chorley, so there's about a 30-minute drive there. So going over to see them we usually spend the day over there. So weekends and evenings are spent traveling to family, seeing them, and also DIY has become a really big thing in my life since leaving teaching. I always enjoyed doing a bit of DIY, but just being able to, I think I start work around about the same time as I did previously in teaching, but I'm finding that I'm finishing earlier because I'd sometimes take marking home and bits of other things in an evening. So that evening time become a really free space for me. So I think
Nice.
I've just taken up bits of DIY. We've recently had a log burner fitted, which I helped fit in the front of the house. I'm part of the way through fitting a kitchen. So
Nice. Look at
so I'm just
you.
taking on these new
Oh yeah,
alternative
but save a
challenges.
fortune. You save a
Of course,
fortune,
yeah, yeah,
and I think the feeling of satisfaction you must get. I mean, I always watch these DIY things on the reels when I'm getting sucked
yeah,
into social media, and I always think, oh, but I've got absolutely zero skills myself. But it's patience, isn't it? And the willingness to get it wrong and then try
yeah.
again. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's
I'm fortunate though because my partner's dad used to be a furniture maker, so
results. Got
he's
some
very
skills there.
he's got some
Yeah.
skills, the transferable skills that help us solve some of these problems.
I love that. I mean, and that leads me to my next question. You're living a very wholesome life by the sounds of things and it is about the simple things. I think family is everything, isn't it? If you're
Yeah.
lucky enough to have a great family that you've got good relationships with. But what might surprise people about you, Jason?
I think this leads in beautifully. Actually, I'm a very kind of spiritual person. I'm a very kind of thoughtful, quiet, creative person. But also, my faith is really important to me. Yeah, and I think having the opportunity to take time now and have conversations with different people to provide, that kind of thoughts about the world, about, we're in an ever-changing world, aren't we, out there, with lots of wide and vastful views. And I think, introducing people to the person of Jesus and, having those different conversations with people has been really inspiring for me in this role now as well. And it's nice to hear other people's perspective on faith and also to share my perspective on faith as well. Yeah.
So switching it back over to horticulture, what advice would you give someone thinking about a career change, particularly moving into an industry like ours?
Well, my change was absolutely vast. Whenever I say to someone who's not spoken to me in a while, I got a message from a friend the other day who said, "What are you doing with yourself now? Are you still teaching?" And I said, "I'm not. I'm now working in horticulture. I'm now a team leader at Nurture." And they said they couldn't imagine me with a spade with a shovel in my hand.
Oh,
So,
really?
interestingly,
What do they know?
that leads me into my first piece of advice, which would be take the leap, surprise people,
Yeah.
Do something different. If you see the role, go for it. Build up that experience over time. Weekends, evenings are a great time to try and build that bit of time, maybe doing a bit of gardening for a neighbour or whatever. I looked into City and Guilds qualifications as well in horticulture, which proved very useful. I'd signed myself up for a course before I got this job. I never ended up going through with it in the end.
Okay.
But it's something that I'd love to explore in the future. But I know City and Guilds would be great, and I've had some great training from Ian, one of our training providers as well, for my pesticide certificate.
Well, you should check out the apprenticeships because there are always apprenticeships going on, even up to level 5, so you can really grow your skills as it is. But it doesn't surprise me, I think, hearing that you're quite a spiritual person and marrying that with nature, because spending time in nature is very meditational. It is a very kind of internal experience, but connecting with the sort of pulse of the earth.
Yep, there's plenty of noise out there in the world, so it's nice to be still and quiet and reflective sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Thank you then, and really nice to get to know you a bit, and thank you for sharing your story and a bit of yourself and what's going on for you. Jason is on email if anybody wanted to tap him up afterwards and ask him any questions about anything that's gone on in this conversation. Otherwise, I'm going to wish you a fantastic day and let you get back to the many different jobs that you get on with. And I'm not sure if I should share the picture that Jason has shared with me earlier today, which is him actually flying on a rake, courtesy of AI. But it did make me chuckle, so thank you for that. Anyway, thanks again, and I will speak to you.
Thank you.
I'll speak to you soon. Thanks, Jason.